Where are we?
This is Mark McNeese in New York City, and you're listening to Age to Perfection, where age is embraced and life is celebrated. Welcome to the podcast, everybody. This is Mark, and I've got my guest for the week on the line. It's Kim Hunt. She's the Executive Director of Affinity Community Services in Chicago. So, hello, Kim. How are you?
Hi, Mark. I'm doing great, except for this cold weather here.
Well, it's been so strange here. It's been cold and then not warm, but it would go from like 35 to 55.
Mm-hmm.
And then
we've experienced that too.
Tomorrow it's going to be really cold. So I'm just having to brace for it. Now, we talked a little bit before starting here that I had read about Affinity online, which is where I find an awful lot of things. And I just thought it sounded like a great organization, and I reached out to you because I wanted to talk to you about it. From what I'm reading here, well, first of all, you're in Chicago, and Affinity is almost 20 years old. So could you tell listeners a little bit about Affinity Community Services?
Sure. So we are actually kicking off our 20th anniversary with one of our signature events this Saturday. But before we talk about that, I'll give you a little background. So Affinity was created by a group of out Black LGBT individuals who wanted to bring visibility and voice to Black people in LGBTQ communities and LGBTQ people in Black communities. They were tired of going to the north side of Chicago, where a lot of the gay bars were, to experience gay culture in gay life, and wanted to be more visible and have those resources available to them on the south side of Chicago, which is predominantly where African Americans live, south side and west side of Chicago. And so they decided that they wanted to do some type of action to bring out that visibility, and they decided to march or request to march in what's called the Bud Biliken Parade, which is a parade that's almost 100 years old, takes place on the south side. There's some debate over how it originated. Many people believe the Chicago Defender, one of the black newspapers, longtime black newspapers in the country, created it. That's what most people think. But as I said, there's some debate over that. And so they submitted an application to march, and they actually submitted 2 applications because, to their knowledge, there had not been an out LGBT group to march in the parade before. And one application was typewritten because there were no computers on our desktops in 1993. Every question answered to the T. They had it delivered by messenger before the deadline. And in that application, they identified the group as LGBT. In the second application, it was handwritten in pencil, even crumpled up and stomped on a couple of times and to make it unpresentable, and mailed the day of the deadline. In that application, they did not identify the group as LGBT, and that is the application that was accepted.
Wow.
And yeah. So what transpired over the next couple of weeks was that the brand new Midwest Regional Office of Lambda Legal and the Chicago Human Relations Commission were involved in a mediation between the group and the Chicago Defender Charities Organization, which hosts the parade. And through that mediation process, they were able to march. Didn't have very many incidents leading up to the parade. There were a few death threats in the parade. There were some hecklers, but overall, folks were extremely supportive people came out to them while they were marching in the parade. There were parents that came up to them that talked about how proud they were of their gay and lesbian children. And overall, it was a great experience. They did it a second time, and then in 1995 decided that it would be a good idea to have an ongoing organization to continue to do work with Black LGBT individuals. And Affinity was created as a result of that. And over the years, our work has included bringing awareness to health disparities, particularly for Black queer women, leadership development, civic engagement work. We're going to be launching some HIV prevention work this year, and we've just done a whole range of things related to being a part of a community and also being a vehicle for social change for the individuals who come through our organization.
Do you happen to know what the name Bud Biliken, where that comes from?
My understanding is it was a fictional character that was created by the Defender, and the idea behind the character in the parade was to celebrate going back to school. So the parade is always, I think, the third week in August, just before the kids go back to school. So it was meant to make that a fun thing to do just before school started.
Okay. How long have you been with Affinity?
I have been with Affinity almost 8 years. I was on the board for 2 years, and I'm 5.5 years into being executive director.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about some of the programs that you folks are doing?
Sure. So we have several groups that meet regularly, and those groups are what we call volunteer-led groups. So we have a group called Proud Parents, and those are LGBT parents, mostly of young children, who organize events together or go to take field trips together, essentially. We have a group called 40 Plus, and that is a group for primarily women who are in their 40s and 50s, and they do social events. Shy T Asterisk, which is a transgender, gender nonconforming group, and it's meant to provide support and information on resources to individuals who want them. And then we have our Affinity Trailblazers, which is the group for individuals who are 60 and over, and they do social events. They are also very interested in continuing their civic engagement work, so they also do workshops and have an annual luncheon focused on health issues. So those are the groups that meet monthly, sometimes more frequently. Then we have, as I mentioned, we do some HIV prevention work and other health awareness work. We have cultural events, so we've done writing workshops, we've done movie screenings, we've done events. We had an event last year where a photographer who lives in South Africa displayed some photos that she had taken of Nelson Mandela maybe 8 months before he died. And then we have what we call our civic engagement work, and that includes anything from the work we were involved in for marriage equality here in Illinois, to immigration work, to advocacy work related to bringing more health resources to the south side of Chicago.
Now, what is Burning Bowl?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. So Burning Bowl is our biggest event of the year, and it's happening this Saturday. It is what I like to call a spiritual affirmation event. So there are really three pieces that we build a program around. And those three critical pieces are, one, people write down a list of negative events or negative thoughts, whatever it is that they want to purge from the previous year. And that piece of paper is actually burned in a lovely fire, so everyone has an opportunity to burn their paper. The other part of the event is that people write down goals. Some people write letters to themselves. Some people have greeting cards that they have prepared to send themselves. And they put whatever it is in a self-addressed envelope, and they give that to us. And we mail it back to them 6 months later. So they're able to reconnect with what their intentions were at the beginning of the year, about 6 months in, and see how they're doing. And then the third part of it is this is primarily the time when folks make their pledges for the year and donations to the organization. But in addition to those three things, we have a keynote speaker, we have singers or spoken word artists, and we have drumming. And so it's a fantastic community event. This year we're expecting to have about 300 people there because it's also the kickoff of our 20th anniversary year.
Well, I really like the idea of the burning bowl. Mm-hmm. And I automatically started thinking about things that I wanted to, not material things so much, but things that I would certainly put in there that I wanted to change about myself. Like burn some sort of negative aspect of my personality that I would like to shed. Mm-hmm. So, I also think it's really cool, the idea of mailing the goals back to somebody, because I could tell you right now some of the three things that I want to do this year, but 6 months from now, I'm like, did I accomplish them, or did they change? Did they morph into something else?
Yeah, what we find is that a lot of people, when they get that letter or that list back, they find that they've actually made some progress. So that's really cool. We often post a question on our Facebook page or in our newsletter in June. We have a newsletter that goes out every week, and we ask people after they get that letter how they did, and at least those who report back say that they are actually making progress on the goals.
Now, do you liaison or network with other service organizations?
Oh, absolutely. Most of the work that we do, especially when it comes to the public policy and the advocacy work, is work that's done in collaboration and coalition with other organizations. It's difficult to make policy changes without doing that in coalition with multiple groups. Mm-hmm. We're big on that.
And your funding, I'm assuming you're nonprofit, but do you get grants or you and then contributions from people?
Combination. We get grants. Folks make gifts. We have special events. So just the whole range that most nonprofits would have.
And about how big is your staff?
That is the joke. I'm the only full-time staff person.
Okay.
We are fortunate to have interns placed here from various schools regularly. I think in the 5 years that I've been here, every year we've had 2 or 3 interns, sometimes at the same time, so it's been wonderful. And then we have a tremendous board that gets in there, rolls up its sleeves, and gets involved, and we have great volunteers.
Well, you sound like just an outstanding organization, and I'm glad that I saw I think it was something about Burning Bull that is what I saw online and why I reached out to you, and I'm glad I did. You've also been just such a nice person to talk to.
Aw. Oh, thank you.
How can people, what's your URL so people can find your website?
Sure. So we are at affinity95.org, and that's AFFINITY, and then the numbers 9 and 5.org. We also have a Facebook page. You have to type in our whole name for that, and that's Affinity Community Services. And then, of course, like many other organizations, we also are on Twitter and at Affinity CS.
C?
Yes, CS.
C as in cat. Service. Okay. I'm going to look that up.
Oh, great. Okay.
I do want to thank you for being on the podcast. I like to because for people who you might be referring to listen to the podcast, mm-hmm. This is on lgbtsr.org, also easily called LGBT Senior. It's for the over 50 LGBTQ audience. And I just thought Affinity would be a really nice thing to share with them. And I liked it that you have a Affinity Trailblazers group.
And I would like to point out that I'm 52, so I will be all over you.
Excellent.
Podcast and website.
Excellent. Well, Kim, thank you again so much. And I hope it doesn't get too much colder there for you.
Oh, thank you, Mark. I appreciate it.
Great. You have a good night, and I will send you this link on Wednesday when I post it.
Fantastic, and I just sent you the updated information on Burning Bull.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
All right.
Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.